Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Yoda brothers, it's the director. Chargers fans, man, dude, I've been sitting back thinking about how in the world am I going to tackle the NFL free agency coming up this March in terms of completion, right? Like, what do we got to do to get all these guys highlighted? I got all these thoughts on all these players that I want to make you guys aware of. So what I decided to do was to break this series up into 4 different videos because there's just too much to cover in just one. So in today's video, we're going to be covering the NFL free agents, the best ones that the Chargers could target at the receiver and tight end position because, again, got a lot to go over before March 16th when the NFL free agency officially opens. Now, as a reminder, the Chargers currently boast the second most cap space in the NFL at $60 million. I do fully expect that to rise above $70 million after cuts. So today, again, we're going to be covering the receivers and tight ends because the Chargers just lead the league in drops. We have got to get Herbert some help. But don't worry, Bolt fam. I know a lot of guys very worried about what the Chargers are doing on defense. I think resource-wise, defense does take priority, but we're just going to start here with the wide receivers, tight ends, because I do think this is very important as well. So I'll be ranking these guys from lowest to highest as to, I think, who the Chargers should be targeting in free agency. But if you're not a Chargers fan, don't worry. This is a comprehensive list for everybody, highlighting, all the best available free agents at these positions. So before we do get started, guys, hit us up with the like and sub. If you do enjoy this content, the small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, bell notification helps me out a lot, as well as question in the comments for you guys. Big question you guys can answer down below. Who could be a sneaky under the radar signing for the Chargers at tight end or wide receiver? Let me know your names in the comment section below. With that, let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. The 2022 offseason best NFL free agents at receiver and tight end. We have so much to cover, even with just these 2 positions, guys. So we're going to jump right into it with Zach Ertz. I'm going to try and go as quickly as possible. I don't want this video to be forever long, but we're going to do our best out here, okay, man? Zach Ertz at number 18. We're going to go from 18 to 1 in this particular category. Zach Ertz, an amazing talent with the Philadelphia Eagles for the longest time. He is not as dominant as he once was, but I do think Ertz could provide maybe a decent rental value. Similar to the signing of Jared Cook with the Chargers, he would offer a 1-year solution for the team. And honestly, when he was signed late to the Arizona Cardinals, I think he looked pretty solid for Kyler Murray in his time in Arizona. Currently, Zach Ertz is projected at $11 million per season. That's likely for around 2 years. He could be worth a shot, but he's number 18 on my list for a reason. We'll keep that in mind. At number 17, and we're going to be moving quick, trying to get through all these names. Marquez ValdesScanning at number 17. Now, in my opinion, ValdesScanning is a huge talent that could definitely elevate with the brand new team. He's huge in talent as far as his speed and his size. 6'5". He's a towering wide receiver with the Jets. The man runs go routes better than almost anybody in the NFL, right? The biggest problem is his drops. His drops are concerning, and that's a big reason why the Chargers are in the market for a wide receiver to begin with. They need to solve that dropping problem. Maybe he'll be able to figure it out with a new team, new quarterback like Justin Herbert. But again, Justin Herbert and the Chargers, they've struggled to unleash Herbert's big arm in its true form the past couple of seasons, and that's kind of why I like ValdesScanning. Not the most expensive signing, and he would offer a cheap solution to maybe the deep ball for the Chargers. He's projected at $8.33 million per season, probably over 3 years. And when I say that, guys, that's going to be what, a total of like $24 million. It's somewhere in that term. So total of around $24 million, but he would cost around $8.33 per year, as so you guys can understand that moving forward. I do think he's affordable and very much so worth a shot. Next up, Max Williams at number 16. in completion for the tight ends and wide receivers list. Now, a lot of people probably wouldn't expect me to put Max Williams on this list at all, but I think he's looked okay as a receiver at times in his time with, I think it was Baltimore and now the Arizona Cardinals. He's all right? He's all right. But where his true talent really does lie in the NFL is in his run blocking. This dude has maintained an 8.23 run blocking grade since 2017 when he came into the league. He could really step in and really improve the Chargers' run game, altogether. I think that's something very important, something that we valued, maybe even undervalued when we had Hunter Henry on the team. Run blocking, very important from the tight end position. He could certainly add, a bit of talent there in that department. However, he did suffer an ACL tear this season, which is concerning, but I do think he'll fully recover by kickoff in 2022. He's projected at $6 million a season, and again, I think he could add solid value to this run game that's in need of more blockers. Again, he's more of maybe your left side tight end, your run blocking tight end in terms of this list. Next up, speaking of Cardinals, we got Christian Kirk, who I think is flying under the radar a little bit. You know what? Flying under the radar pretty hard, in my opinion. This guy, as sure-handed as they come, man. When it comes to playing from the slot, he's as sure-handed as it gets with a 74% catch rating. He's looked fantastic with Kyler Murray out there in Arizona, and he also offers speed, which is something that the Chargers do desperately need. They sorely need it at this point. Outside of Jalen Guyton, I can't really think of anybody else that offers that kind of speed. Christian Kirk is projected at $11.5 million per season, likely for around 3 years. He could be the perfect fit for the Bolts, who would allow Keenan Allen to play outside the slot a little bit more, maybe mixing and matching who plays the slot between Christian Kirk and a Keenan Allen. Next up at number 14, a surprising name that we haven't seen on the scene for a couple of years now, in Juju SmithSchuster. I went to an event in LA once for EA and the Madden, I think it was 19 at the time. Got to meet Juju's mama. Made some fantastic donuts. Outside of that, though, we can't be bought on this channel, right? Juju exploded into the scene as a player in 2017, looking like a top receiver in the league. However, and I think it's hard to deny this, as Big Ben's play started to decline, right? So did Schuster's output. Sure, we did see a couple more receivers step into that limelight, let's say like a Chase Claypool, but still maybe a little bit concerning as to what's going on with Juju Smith-Schuster. Still, the biggest stat that stood out for me when it comes to Juju is his catch rate, very similar to Christian Kirk, which again, that's kind of what we're looking for in terms of getting better as a team, is holding on to that ball. Juju logged in a rate of 75% in 2020. Of course, he got injured in 2021, so we don't really have great stats on that, but still, he's very, very sure-handed when he's on the field. Chargers need a guy who can hold on to the ball, period. Again, his injury may be a little bit concerning, but he would be a cheap kind of signing, right? Projected at 1 year, $8 million deal, kind of a prove-it deal. I think he's worth a shot for redemption and would fit very nicely with the Chargers. Got the speed, sure-handedness. I think he fits what the Chargers are looking for. At number 13, Dalton Schultz at the tight end position. Schultz had a fantastic year with Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, going for over 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. Now, when it comes to Dalton Schultz, I don't really think there's anything in particular. I look at him and I'm like, wow, he's really good as far as possession, or wow, he's really good in speed or size or blocking. I think he's pretty solid all around, right? And that makes sense for a team looking to adopt a young tight end. I think he's something like 25, 26 years old. And it takes time for tight ends to develop in the league. When it comes to drafting tight ends, that can be exciting. Sometimes it works out like with the Chargers and Hunter Henry, but a lot of the times they move on to a new team when their talent truly starts to shine. And that's why I think the Chargers should definitely be in the tight end market right now. Schultz's physical attributes may be less than stellar, but he makes up for it with big plays. Of course, 800 yards, 8 touchdowns, fantastic for any tight end in the league. He's projected at $11.25 million a season. That would likely be for about 4 years. So again, about $44 million. A little bit pricey, but again, the Chargers could add a young stud, not worry about tight end for very many years to come, for at least 4 years, we'll say. Next up, back-to-back tight ends, Mike Gesicki at number 12, clocking in. Man, has this dude looked good for Miami, right? The Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa. I don't know what Tua would do without Gesicki on the field. Tua's been struggling, of course, but Gesicki has been one of those constants on Miami that has definitely been very, very, very nice. He's definitely an attractive option at tight end in free agency after his past couple of years in Miami. He's clutch when called upon, especially when moving the chains. I can't tell you how many times I thought the Dolphins were, out of it, and here comes Gesicki, able to convert that third down, keeps the game alive. He played out wide. He played in the slot quite a bit in those receiver positions too, so he does offer that versatility on the team. I think Gesicki's a solid, all-around great guy for any team to pick up this season, but maybe a little bit pricey. Gesicki is projected at $13.75 million per year, and that could go on for about 4 seasons, probably over 4 years. So a little bit pricier than the other guys on the list, but he definitely has a resume to back it up. Next up at number 11, we've got DJ Chark. Okay, Chargers fans, maybe general NFL fans, I know what you're thinking, okay? DJ Chark, why is this guy at number 11 so high on this list? I would say this is more in terms of what the Chargers are looking for. Maybe he's going to be a little bit lower on other people's list because it's not a flashy name, right? DJ Chark, not the flashiest name in the world, but he does offer a few things that the Chargers do covet, okay? The dude is fast. He's tall. He's like 6'4", and he loves the jump ball. So in terms of the Los Angeles Chargers, if the Bolts somehow decide to move on from Mike Williams, DJ Chark could be looked at as maybe a discount Mike Williams. Okay, I'm going to kind of leave it at that. He can be good at times. Maybe he does fall off a little bit, but if the Chargers are looking to save a little bit of money, Chark wouldn't be a bad option. Chark is projected at $13 million a year. I think that's maybe a little bit too high. I think the source I'm looking at is over the cap /PFF. I do expect that to be just a little bit lower. So DJ Chark, for your consideration if the Chargers do let go of Mike Williams. I hope they do not. Next up, Allen Robinson at number 10. We are cracking into the top 10 wide receivers, tight ends for this list. Allen Robinson, man, dude, before this season, okay, Allen Robinson was looked at as one of the best wide receivers in the league because he was playing with just some of the worst circumstances in the NFL. Robinson suffered a disastrous season in 2021 due to the horrific Bears offense, coming in here. It felt like everything was going against Allen Robinson. Maybe he has declined, which is definitely something to keep an eye out, keep in consideration. But again, just a year ago, he was the target machine. The dude was going for like 100 receptions a season for so many years, and all of a sudden he just falls off the face of the earth. Something just doesn't feel right. I don't know if that's circumstantial or not, because when it comes to sure-handed wide receivers, Allen Robinson, he's been able to get the job done, right? Coming up with clutch catches, not dropping the ball too often, running very, very crispy routes. I think that's, again, something that the Chargers could need. They need consistency. And Robinson, lined up with Keenan Allen, I think that would offer Justin Herbert an open target more often than not, right? I think Allen Robinson or Keenan Allen would find themselves open pretty frequently. Still, Robinson has a lot to prove after his career worst season by far. Has he truly fallen off the map, or was it circumstantial because of how the Bears play their offense? Still, I do have to say that he's projected at $16 million a year, probably for around 3 years. So all of a sudden, we're talking, $30-40 million? That's a little bit too much to me. I think maybe that list needs to be updated on PFF. I think he's in prove-it territory if it's on my honest opinion. I think Allen Robinson will need to take something in terms of a $10-12 million 1-year contract just to make sure that the team knows what they're getting in him without risking too much as far as cap is concerned. So Allen Robinson, if they can make the contract make sense, I think I'm on board for that. Next up at number 9, Rob Gronkowski. Okay, a lot of you guys know I play Madden Ultimate Team, right? I think this would be a fun signing. Put him on the theme team, make him pretty fun in the video game world, right? But I think there does make some sense for the Chargers in bringing him in real-life football, too, because with Tom Brady now out of the picture, retiring from the NFL, Rob Gronkowski might be looking for a new team. Me, personally, I wouldn't be surprised if he hung up the cleats, after Tom Brady did. They've kind of been their yin-yang. They've been together a long time. So I wouldn't be surprised if Rob Gronkowski is off the market sooner than later. Still, with him being available at this moment, I think the Chargers might be able to consider this, because the Chargers took a stab on Jared Cook last season, right? And it did serve as maybe like a bridge tight end situation to kind of buy the Chargers a little bit more time, and it still remain competitive. Maybe another vet is in the cards for this team. Gronk is one of the best possession tight ends in the league, even now at his older age. I think he's only 32 or something like that, which is actually not too old for a tight end. He's still got some juice left in the tank if he does decide to play on. But yeah, this could definitely be a signing that makes sense for the Chargers. Gronk is currently projected at a 1-year, $7 million deal. Again, very similar to what the Chargers did with Jared Cook. If they want another rental, I think Gronk is as good as it gets. And I think it would be really fun for the Chargers to, go out there with Rob Gronkowski and Justin Herbert. I think that would be a fun season, a fun story for both fans. Next up, at number 8, Will Fuller, as we make ourselves deeper into the top 10 on this list. Will Fuller was a guy we were talking about last season, right? And of course, he did sign a very short contract with Miami Dolphins. Didn't really pan out for him. That recent injury definitely knocked him out of the season. I still think he's worth the shot, though, because we'll keep this simple. The Chargers lack speed, like we were saying before with ValdesScanning, and Will Fuller is fast, probably the fastest wide receiver in free agency this season. This could unlock, again, the potential of Justin Herbert's deep ball, perhaps better than anyone else on this list. So that's why we have to include him. Again, the injury maybe makes me step away from the name Will Fuller a little bit, but again, he offers something that this team really desperately needs. Fuller is projected for a 1-year, $10 million deal. I'd guess it's probably a little bit cheaper than that due to his 2021 season. Maybe he gets a 1-year, $8 million contract, which I do think the Chargers should definitely pounce on. Because again, what if we, get a Will Fuller on this team and all of a sudden the Chargers are, scoring touchdowns with him and Justin Herbert, similar to a Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. We need speed on this team. At number 7, Odell Beckham Jr. Now, I'm going to say this right now, man. Odell has climbed this list tremendously since signing with the Los Angeles Rams. For those of you saying, why would the Rams ever let him go? I think the Rams can really only afford to keep one of their big free agents that they picked up, or one of the big trades that they picked up this season. They can either keep Odell Beckham or they can keep Von Miller. Between the two, I think they're probably leaning towards Von Miller a little bit more, but you never know. If Odell's available, he's number 7 on this list for me. Odell Beckham Jr.'s journey through the NFL has been fascinating to watch, has it not? From the spent Eli Manning with the New York Giants, moving over to a conservative quarterback in Baker Mayfield, I feel like we never really saw his full potential due to his QB play that was not very good until now. He has exploded onto the scene with the LA Rams. Matt Stafford has offered, Odell Beckham all the opportunity in the world to go out there and make big plays. And I do think it fits the scheme of what the Chargers would be looking for. The Rams featuring, Cooper Kupp as their number 1 wide receiver. I could say you could maybe say that is a little similar to Keenan Allen with the Chargers. They needed a good number 2. Maybe with, the other guy out there? I think he got hurt. God, his name evades me right now, but still a good number 2 wide receiver is definitely what the Chargers might be looking for if we do elect to move on from Mike Williams. And you know what? Odell Beckham Jr., I think he's proved all the doubters wrong with this move to LA. I do think that he's definitely, in terms of his talent, has really shown through with a good quarterback. I like him, man. In terms of what he offers, he's a deep threat. The Chargers need that. He's a big talent. I think, again, he's not really seen a lot of exposure due to his bad quarterback play and his situation in his previous teams. I like it. I think I would be all about it, and that's why he's number 7 on this list. OBJ is projected at $5.6 million a season over 2 years. I think that might be a little outdated. I think that one is via Spot Rack. If the Chargers could pull that off, that's a huge discount. However, Pro Football Focus, and I think those guys use Over the Cap, they have him slated at a 1-year, $14 million contract. Me personally, I would guess it's somewhere in between that. So somewhere in between 5.6 and 14 million. Let's say around $10 million, okay? A $10 million 1-year or 2-year contract definitely is very attractive to me. I think he's a great compliment to Keenan and maybe also Mike Williams. OBJ is one of those guys that you can sign while also keeping Mike Williams on the team. That's why he's a very attractive option to me as a Chargers fan. Next up at number 6, we've got O.J. Howard. Director, what are you doing? O.J. Howard at number 6? Is this a mistake? Nah, man, it's just a surprise. O.J., who disappeared from the league once the Bucs signed on Rob Gronkowski. This guy, dude, I feel like everybody forgot about him. Former first-round pick. His career has been stifled by position inflation. The Bucs went out there after drafting O.J. Howard. They went out there and they extended Cameron Brate. I didn't understand that, but they did it. Whatever. Cameron Brate was valuable to them. They kept him on the team. After bringing on Tom Brady, they decided to also adopt Rob Gronkowski, who was coming out of retirement. This just pushed OJ further and further down the depth chart. And unfortunately for him, I don't think we've been able to see his true talent shine in the NFL quite yet. Outside of maybe his rookie season. In his rookie season, he caught 6 touchdowns. He was a red zone machine. As you can tell, man, he's a physical talent. And you pair that up with a guy like Justin Herbert, I think that good things happen, okay? And a big reason why he's at number 6 on this list for me is definitely value. OJ Howard is currently projected at a measly 1-year, $2 million prove-it contract. If you want to take a chance on a guy, on a young stud at a position, where guys develop a little bit slower or whatever, I think it's OJ Howard. I think he deserves a shot being the number 1 for a team. And again, given his physical attributes, his speed, his possession, his route running, at his position, I think he's greatly undervalued by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is a guy I would be very willing to give a shot with Justin Herbert and the Chargers in 2022. OJ Howard, that kind of value, you don't see it every day, and definitely that's something that I would be very excited to give a chance for. Next up, at number 5, in the top 5 of wide receivers and tight ends that I think we should be targeting is Michael Gallup, formerly of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, again, most people watching this video know the Chargers situation. We might be looking for a new wide receiver too. If we let go of Mike Williams, I think Gallup would be a solid option if the Chargers want to sign a guy that does what Mike Williams does, but maybe a little bit cheaper, okay? Gallup, I can't tell you how many times. I think I even tweeted a couple of times this season watching, the Dallas Cowboys on maybe even Red Zone. He's one of the best sideline possession receivers in the league, period. That's just my opinion. This guy comes up with some crazy clutch plays, maybe once or twice a game. He's been absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately for him, injury definitely hindered his last season. It maybe put him on the back burner of a lot of people's lists of free agents. Not me, man. Again, I think he provides a lot of what Mike Williams offers, but at a cheaper price. Michael Gallup is projected at $13.5 million a season. That'd likely be about 4 years on his contract. If the Chargers want a discount, I think he'd be a good option. It would make me feel a little less upset about letting go of Mike Williams if that's what they decide to do. Now into the top 4. This next one may shock you. At number 4, I've got DeVante Adams. Is that my credibility going down the tube right now? I don't know. Let me explain, okay? Because if you're surprised, I'm also surprised that I came to this conclusion when making this list. Adams clocks in at number 4 on this list for a very big reason, okay? Money. His talent is unquestioned. He's the best wide receiver in the league. But recently he has stated that he wants $30 million a season. That is just way too much. And if me, a Chargers fan, with a team that's got $60 million, $70 million to work with, I mean, it just speaks to how expensive that price tag is. However, I do have to state that the Chargers could be one of the only teams that can afford him. Therefore, again, that adds another link to the chain to him maybe coming to Los Angeles. With a creative contract structure, okay, and you see this all the time in the NFL, the Chargers could make this happen. I know, Chargers fans, $30 million. Some of us closed that book immediately. I was kind of one of them as well. But what the Chargers would likely do if they decided to, adopt DeVante Adams, bring him in, pay him his money, what they would likely do is backload his contract with incentives and a potential out, okay? So we could lower the risk as far as what we're spending on the cap. Again, what backloading means is basically you're paying a little bit now and making up for it a little bit later. What incentives means is basically maybe he needs 1,300 receiving yards to make some of the money from that contract, let's say $2-3 million. He needs like 8 to 10 touchdowns to get another $2 million or something from that contract. If he doesn't meet those incentives, he doesn't get that money. Still very pricey, even with incentives. The last thing I have to point out is the potential out. Let's say he comes to the Chargers and he's not performing like he did with Green Bay. The Chargers would likely provide an out somewhere, like, let's say it's a 4-year contract. It would probably be after year 2 where they could cut or trade him with very minimal risk as far as dead cap. I know that's a lot of big words. I'm sorry, but I'm just telling you guys now, if anybody could figure this out, it is the Chargers, and they're probably one of the only teams that could make this happen because of, our cap space situation. Still, I gotta say that Pro Football Focus projects him at $23.5 million, in 4 seasons as well. So you're looking at, $93 million total. That's a huge deal, a huge move, and it would be even bigger if the Chargers did pay him his requested $30 million. So that's why he's at number 4. Money is a big thing for me, okay? A big thing. Next up, Chris Godwin at number 3. Inside the top 3, Chris Godwin. This man is a special talent, okay? The Bucs suffered tremendously with his absence late in the season due to injury. It just went to show how valuable he is to that team and what his talents provide for their success. He's grown into one of the best route runners in the league, plays inside, outside, feels a lot like Keenan Allen, right? Like a young Keenan Allen, and that does get me excited. Godwin, playing with Keenan Allen, someone's going to get open. This is like the maximum value of what I was talking about with Allen Robinson. We know Chris Godwin is good. That's kind of like the pairing that you would see there. Somebody's going to get open. Herbert's is going to have somebody to pass to every single down. Godwin would be a signing that the Chargers could use to make him our eventual wide receiver 1. So maybe they get a new Keenan Allen, and as Keenan Allen continues to age, maybe, his time with the team after his contract is over is up, then we can, bring in a Chris Godwin. Everything's kind of the same. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Godwin is currently projected at $17.5 million per season. That contract would likely last around 4 years, totaling around $70 million. A big move, but also a solid move that does provide some foresight in planning for what the Chargers are trying to build in Los Angeles. At number 2, to nobody's surprise, we've got Mike Williams. You guys know I'm a Mike Williams super fan, right? I have been trying to get my hands on a golden ticket in Madden Ultimate Team for very many years so I could build this man the card that he deserves. I love Mike Williams. I think he's a big talent. He's taken a little bit of time to blossom, but my goodness, we've already talked about Mike a lot this offseason, right? He had a spectacular 2021 season. He looked great. Elite wide receiver 2 numbers. It doesn't get much better than Mike Williams when it comes to that position. And it feels like the Chargers, in my opinion, have been grooming him for the number 1 role on the team. We saw a lot of snaps for him at the X receiver position, it's in other terms, wide receiver 1, and that could allow the Chargers to move Mike Williams into the permanent 1 and Keenan Allen into the slot where Keenan Allen is at his best on the football field as well. He fits what the team wants to do. He makes sense financially at this point, in my opinion, long term. Mike Williams is projected $17 million a season. My guess is that would be about a 14-year contract. At this point in time, with, DeVante Adams and these other guys probably wanting huge mega contracts, big deals with the cap being raised in 2022, I think it's definitely worth it. You sign him to the long-term deal, you backload the contract, you put incentives, all the things I talked about with DeVante Adams, but you do it with Mike Williams to, protect the team, but also keep Mike Williams on the roster. I think he's a very important piece to keep on this offense, okay? And at number 1, I don't think anybody's going to guess this, okay? My number 1 tight end wide receiver free agent that I think the Chargers should target. Nobody's going to guess it. My number 1 guy is David Njoku. You guys are going to think I'm crazy, but hear me out, okay? When it comes to potential signings that make sense to the Bolts, this tops the list for me, okay? Njoku is a hidden gem in free agency if you're really looking around. Most people skip over his name. I'm not going to do that. When drafted, Njoku had super high expectations, right? A generational talent. He's special, physical, fast. He's got everything going for him. But the biggest thing, and this happened to Odell Beckham Jr., the biggest thing is that he was hampered by quarterback play, bad quarterback play, and position inflation his entire career. It's almost taking the situation of O.J. Howard and Odell Beckham Jr. and making this hybrid, this super hybrid of bad situations for NFL players. They had too many cooks in the kitchen at tight end, right? They had Harrison Bryant. They had that other guy from the Falcons, Hayden Hurst, right? They had guys out there that just too many tight ends in the kitchen that really made David Njoku's playing time suffer. Like I said with Odell Beckham Jr., the same problem he was facing. He found huge success when he went to the Rams and had himself a competent quarterback, okay? Herbert and Njoku, in my opinion, fit like a glove. he would offer an immediate and, dare I say, elite threat on the team. It just feels like that chemistry would work out perfectly. And the Chargers, we're talking about adding some complementary pieces at receiver, and Njoku would be that guy for me, man. At a position where right now, Donald Parham, he could be awesome. He could be great. I still think he could be the Chargers tight end one. But if you're really looking for a solid upgrade, I think David Njoku is it for me, because as well, he would be a huge value. Not just in terms of what he offers, but how much he would cost. And Njoku at this point, per Spot Rack, is projected at $7 million a season for 3 years. That is a huge value. Now, keep in mind, another source in PFF projected him at $12.5 million per season. But again, I would likely see that land somewhere in between, probably about $8 to $9 million a year. I think that's still a solid value, dude. Still worth it, in my opinion. Where the Chargers need help in receiving, I think David Njoku could provide from the tight end position, which just adds another threat on the field at all times to complement Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and maybe even Josh Palmer, whoever they decide to sign at wide receiver as well. I like this a lot. I know, kind of unexpected, but David Njoku is the guy for me. Bottom line, Chargers fans, the Chargers do have options, right? When it comes to receiver, they need to be careful. Because after leading the league in drops, Herbert does need help, and we need to find a way to improve that stat immediately. That's a big problem for this team, right? In my opinion, bringing back Mike Williams is a must, but it can't stop there either. I do like the idea of adding a speedster like ValdesScanning or Fuller to the team of that roster of wide receivers as well. But I think Herbert could really use a tight end that can bring that vertical threat to the table too. So sign me up for Mike Williams and David Njoku to sign with the team this March. You guys let me know in the comment section below if any of these other guys make a lot of sense to you. Maybe a combination of them being signed to the Chargers gets you excited. Let me know again your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. Well, guys, again, another longer video today. I'm sorry. I tried. Okay, there's so many names. Part 2 is going to be coming out here very soon. I think we're going to be taking our first stab at defense with our edge, D-line, and linebackers very soon. So if you guys have thoughts on that too, let me know. Well, guys, if you did enjoy what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. Hopefully this is comprehensible too for any non-Chargers fans in the audience. I do appreciate everybody coming in here, dropping a like, dropping a sub. Really does help the channel a lot. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Sign me up for Njoku.